Next. No, Gary. Gary, hold up. Ma'am, you're next. No, ma'am, you're next. Gary, you've talked and you've talked. I would like for one of the other people to come up here.
No, we want...
Gary,
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm chairing the meeting. Sit down, please.
But
Next.
I can't get up at the end, correct?
I don't know. We've taken quite a bit of time. We'll decide then.
Thank you, Judge.
No, you're not thanking me. Just be polite.
My
Okay,
name's
next.
Tara Hayes, and my husband was a remediation worker at the Paducah Gaseous Diffusion Plant. He's now very sick. There's no doctors that will help him, and this is the truth. Does anyone know how many active claims there are right now at this very moment for the Paducah Gaseous Diffusion Plant? Can you guess? Just shoot out a number that you think. They employ which is 1,100? If you count the remediation workers, about 1,350. Right? About 1,350 people work there right now. Active claims, 19,128. That's active. It's people right now that can't afford their medication, receiving Medicaid, if they can get it, trying to get disability. It's people that had a national security clearance to clean up legacy waste left over from the Cold War. They deserve the respect that a veteran would get. But instead, they get the cold shoulder there. There's no one there that's willing to help them at all. I see it with my husband. Whenever doctors turn him away, literally. And the things that he was exposed to, you made a comment, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Commissioner Byer.
Okay, about whenever you exhumed the bodies, and then they were tested, and after they were tested, then the admission was made as to what they had been exposed to. That's still going on, and they're not properly protected. The workers aren't even protected to the extent that OSHA would require them to be. But nobody's doing anything about it. And if this is going to become something that's ongoing, as far as a cleanup process, then what we also need to think about is protection of the workers. Because they're not being properly monitored, they're not being properly protected, and after they get sick, they're not being properly taken care of. Has any of you guys heard of the Energy Employees Occupational Illness Program Act? Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, it's set up because of the type of work they're doing is so dangerous. And there's lists of ailments that they know are probable. And this was set up to compensate the workers and pay their medical expenses if they did get sick. Because when you're working with things like green salt, yellow cake, liquid HF, beryllium, thank you very much, which I have something else to say about beryllium, but it's undoubtable that, illnesses will occur, especially if you're working in that, and instead of having supplied air like you're supposed to, you're given a HEPA filter. When there's a release, your filters are left in the building, you go back in the building and put the same filter back on. That makes no sense at all. But this is honestly what's still going on. So you're having a toxic waste dump with people that's cleaning it up, worrying about 1,300 jobs, while 19,128 people are still waiting to be compensated for their medical ailments. Not all of them are older. My husband was 40 years old whenever he got extremely sick. He was very fit, very healthy, and I started an organization, still trying to get it going, Champions Resource Advocacy, because I'm not from here. I'm from St. Louis, and we have 2 small children. At the time, they were 6 and 8, and my husband asked me, if he dies, please do not move back to St. Louis. Okay? Which is not something that a young married couple with 2 small children should have to be talking about. Because we live on a family farm. At one point, there were 5 generations on the same land. And that's where he wants his kids to grow up. So after I realized that, okay, he could possibly die, and he feels like he got sick for nothing, for absolutely no reason at all. It served no greater purpose. I said, I'll be damned if anybody's going to believe that. Because every piece of contaminated material that he helped contain and remove from our area made this environment better, the place that he wants his children raised better. But that's something that you guys need to think about, is the sick workers and the continuing contamination of workers. That's
Carol, give a date. Your husband worked there, didn't he?
Oh, he worked there in 2009. He only was employed for 23 months. He was hired in with a stimulus package to do the remediation project. There's something else that I want to address real quick. I almost forgot. Do you know that they did school tours? They took, I believe, 6th graders on tours of the facility. Does any of you guys, are you familiar with this going? Okay. I brought up at a CAB meeting, the Citizens Advisory Board, which I believe they're volunteers who are supposed to care about the community, concerns about the children's safety being taken onto grounds that are toxic with very hazardous materials, where it was a normal day of operations and a release can happen at any time. And I was told, now you won't find this recorded in the minutes, but Gary actually videotaped it and was kind enough to share the video with me, and I posted it online, where the Citizens Advisory Board member said that if children are getting sick and dying, it's the parents' fault for signing the consent forms. That was said to me at a CAB meeting by a CAB member. And then he asked, did I live out there? And I said, no. Does it matter if I live out there? He said, yes, because if you're stupid enough to live near there, then it's your fault if you're sick. And this is the way that people are viewed. Someone who volunteered, the Citizens Advisory Board, is going to say that. Whenever explanations of how beryllium ends up in a building is it blew in through the window. That was actually given to my husband as a reason. It blew in through the window. So if beryllium is blowing in through the window of a building, and that's how it ended up there, without him being properly protected from it, without it being on his list of things that he was coming into contact with, blowing into the window, then every child that was taken out there and given a tour was potentially contaminated with beryllium. Does anyone know what beryllium is? Or what it does, what it can do? Heard the words? No? It's worth looking into. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you work with Gary some?
No.
Okay. You look familiar.
I look familiar because you met me at the Paducah River City Business and Professional Women's Association.
But she's more than welcome to work for us.
Yeah.
She's glad to have her work.
Thank you. Next.